gentlemen, welcome to the Detroit Sports Sit Down. My name is Tom Murphy Jr. I got Joe Perry and Dan Murphy with me, and guess what? It is late February, but it's March Madness, ladies and gentlemen. It is March Madness time. College basketball is starting to heat up. If you're not watching, you better tune in because a lot of good things are going on. And one of the really good things that's going on is Michigan basketball. Oh, baby. Michigan basketball is heating up, and they went into Columbus. They went into Columbus and beat the number 4 team in the country, the Ohio State Buckeyes. Dan, Joe, I felt really good on Sunday. Going into the game. I felt really good that Michigan versus Ohio State was on national TV. The 1 o'clock CBS Sunday game in mid to late February is such a sacred time slot for college basketball. And it's always one of my favorite time slots to watch basketball. And it's been going back for years and years and years. If you love college basketball, you know that. And it's usually a Big Ten game. It usually is. The Big Ten kind of owns that 1 o'clock Sunday.
Do you just like it because you don't see the Lions losing?
That could be it. But it has nothing to do with football, Joe. And this show has nothing to do with football. We're not talking football. Or are we? Can we talk about... Is there an equivalence to Michigan going into Ohio State and beating them on national TV in a highly ranked, highly rated, highly watched game? We're going to get into that for sure. Oh, man, but I just want to say, before you guys even really get into it, I'm going to ask you guys what you thought, but I just want everybody to know how good I felt watching this game and watching Michigan play really, really good basketball. It was so much fun to watch. And in this COVID year with no fans, this felt like a really, really big college basketball game for me. And we love the outcome, obviously. But, all right, Dan, I'm going to start with you. How big was this game? And how big was the win for Michigan?
Well, I can tell you, watching it, it was an impressive basketball game to watch. Just to watch these two teams, you can see why they're both picked to be 1 seeds right now. They played like it. A lot of times you get a big game like this, there's a lot of hype around it, a lot of excitement, and then it doesn't live up to the hype. This game did. I mean, they just went shot for shot for shot. I mean, it was incredible to watch. And it wasn't like the teams were necessarily playing bad defense, because this was a very high-scoring game. But, I mean, the guys were on them. Like, they were on them.
God bless you. It took the over, man.
I mean, guys were just nailing shots with hands in their faces, and it was an impressive performance by both teams. By both teams. You walk away from that and think, okay, both these teams... They're ranked that way for a reason. They're 3 and 4 in the nation for a reason, and they played like it. I mean, this game could have went either way, and it was impressive to see Michigan come through in the end. They come through in the clutch and make the big plays, get the big rebounds when they needed, make the big shots when they needed to. They did get a lead at the end of the game, and it was getting a little dicey there towards the end. It looked like they were going to shut it down, and they were giving up some easy 3-pointers. It seemed like they could have closed out on shooters a little bit better towards the end of the game. That was a little concerning, but all in all, I mean, just a phenomenal performance by Michigan and Hunter Dickinson again. I talked about it last week, but in his performance, in the previous games, but at least this game, just taking over, for a true freshman, just to take over the game the way he does down the stretch is really impressive. The game, all
right, Joe, when you see a game like this, and you see two heavyweights, two incredible basketball teams go back and forth like this, what did you feel about it? Do you think both these teams could be national championship winners? Like I didn't see anything that led me to believe that either one of these teams can't win the championship. But you got two monsters in Gonzaga and Baylor right there at 1 and 2. But you had the game between the 3 team and the 4 team right there. And you said you watched the game. Did you watch a slugfest like me and Dan did? Like, what are your thoughts on what you saw between two teams that could possibly win the whole thing?
Well, at the beginning, I was a little nervous because Ohio State did come out a little bit better. So I was like, oh shoot, this could be interesting. But like you guys said, it's the third and fourth ranked team, and it was a slugfest. They did go back and forth, and either, I think Michigan's a little bit better, but I think either team could have won that game. Both these teams, I definitely could go far in the tournament. What I really noticed most about the game, and this is my hockey thing too, is Mike Smith. Just the way he passes the ball. I love people that set up plays, because a lot of times that's bigger than the actually scoring or is the guys that set up the plays. And I know during the game they said he was had the most assists in Big Ten, so I'm sure that stayed true with 7 assists. But I just love watching him and just the magic he does in the way he passes the ball.
I'm so glad that you brought him up, man, because it leads into my next topic. That is exactly what I'm thinking, because this Mike Smith kid, nobody knew about him, really, because he was a 0-star coming in out of high school into Columbia. And he played in the Ivy League, and then, for years was on a team that just didn't win ball games or nothing, right? And now this kid comes in as a graduate transfer and is just balling. And now he's not just balling, man. This kid is taking his opportunity that Coach Juwan Howard gave him, and he is running with it. You may not have ever seen somebody else run with an opportunity like this before. I don't know, because I think this kid could be the point guard that runs through the tournament and is like that Kemba Walker star, like that guy who you didn't know who he was until bam, now you know everything about his life. Because that could happen. I'm telling you. Because the way I watched him play point guard, man, he can facilitate, man. Dude, he'll make the pass he needs to make. He'll make the shot he needs to make. Nobody knew about him, man. But he was at Columbia, so he already has an Ivy League degree. And then he gets to go run the league, man, right now. What about some of these other dudes, though?
Well, you talk about the graduate transfer. Another one, the guy with Tronde Brown from Wake Forest. And
1,000 points? He scored 1,000 points as a Michigan Wolverine. But he's only scored a couple points as a Michigan Wolverine. So, but nobody knew. Yeah, Wake Forest.
He scored 1,000 points, but most of those points were with Wake Forest, obviously.
That's what I'm saying. But these transfers that are coming in, these guys are making a difference.
Yeah, it's been a huge for Tronde Brown and Mike Smith to come in as seniors, as graduate transfers, have made just a ginormous impact on Michigan's team and improve them and take them to another level. They weren't playing at this level last year, and add these two to the roster and to be making the impact they have. It's just you got to give it to Juwan Howard for making those moves and looking in the transfer portal and picking these guys up, because those things you couldn't do in the past. The transfer portal wasn't necessarily a thing before, but now in the past few years you're seeing this becoming a big thing. You saw it a little bit more in college football, but now you're seeing it in basketball as well, with these graduate transfers coming over to these big teams and making huge impacts.
And we had to, man, dude. When I was watching the game, man, I'm watching it with my buddy, and we're talking back and forth, man, and he's like, man, I don't remember Mike Smith being on this team. I'm like, well, he's not. He's a transfer. It's like, why? Well, we got all these other dudes, though, that are good, blah, 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 man. And you're seeing this thing where Juwan Howard, I think, has made a mastery of this, of apparently all the projections, all what you want. We got recruits coming in, man. Our freshman class is dominant, as far as the numbers look. Juwan Howard, in his first year, took the recruiting trail and made it his own trail. He just got... He's making really good moves. Eli Brooks is a guy that knows how important going into Columbus and taking that game. And that's why he plays so good, man. I believe that stuff, man. I really believe in that. These kids that go to Michigan and play basketball at Michigan, and that's why I love that. I love John Beilein, and I understand why he went. And I was so happy when a guy like Juwan Howard came in to replace him, because Beilein built back the tradition, the hunger, the spirit that Michigan isn't just a football school. It's also a basketball school.
Their football school?
They haven't been the last couple of years.
God,
sorry, I had to throw that one in.
I know. Okay.
Sorry.
So we are a basketball school now. That's fine. You know what? I don't care. Fine, because you know what? It's March. It's February, but it's about to be March, and it's about to be college basketball season, like real college. It's about to be the time where all of America gives a damn about college basketball for the next few weeks now, for the next month. And we got a team. If you're a Michigan fan, if you're a Michigan man, if you're a Michigan woman, if you're somebody that loves Michigan sports, then you know how big it was to beat Ohio State in anything, let alone in Columbus on a CBS 1 o'clock Saturday game. Sunday. CBS 1 o'clock Sunday game. It's the biggest Big Ten spot that there is on national TV before March Madness. And Michigan came out and proved how good they are, how great they are. 92-87. That's a big number in Columbus against a number 4 ranked team in the country. That alone says that you got the offense to play the game. And your team, our team, Michigan, is a proven defensive winner. They play great defense, and they give up 87 points. So I bet Juwan Howard went to practice the next morning and was embarrassed by the way their team played defensively. He's not going to say that to anybody but the kids inside his gym at that moment. And I bet they ran suicides. And I bet he took a page from somebody 45 minutes up the road. And I bet Juwan Howard led a defensive drill that Tom Izzo likes to run. The war drill. What it is, man, as far as this college basketball season and what's about to go down in the Big Ten, when you got the number 3 team in the country, the number 4 team in the country, the number 5 team in the country, all in the Big Ten. The Big Ten hasn't won a national championship, hasn't won the tournament in 20 years since Michigan State. The war drill is something that Michigan State does, that Tom Izzo does. It signifies what Big Ten basketball is, and we saw a lot of that on Sunday.
I'd say we didn't see a lot.
No, well, you would argue that you didn't see a lot of like super hard defense, but you did see some good defense with 2 really good teams playing. What you did see some of tonight, though, is now we're recording on Tuesday. Okay, so tonight, if this was live, we'd be talking about the Michigan State versus Illinois game, which Illinois, the number 5 team in the country, and then Michigan State, a team that has had to sit for, 2.5 weeks, almost, something like that, and has had a little rough time, but made a huge statement tonight and beat the Illini. So now we have a situation going on now. Beat them handily,
too. They beat them by 9 points. It wasn't close.
It was... And the war drills the toughness. But I think the toughness is all about, though, man. It's all about the Big Ten. And there are some teams, man. Okay, so your number 1 team in the country is Gonzaga. Your number 2 team is Baylor. Okay? 3, 4, 5 are in the Big Ten. And guess what? There's 3 or 4 other teams that are really freaking good. How crazy is it that the Big Ten has not won a national championship since 2000? Besides that, I just want you guys to expand upon like what you think about what the season's about to be. Are we about to embark on a great college basketball finish, or are we just going to get our hearts ripped out like we did last year, and it might not even happen, or games will get canceled, and
you can't even concern yourself. I mean, you can't even.
I don't have a crystal ball or nothing, but
you can't control that. You can't control that. The only thing we control is what the games that are on schedule right now. And I mean, With the way the Big Ten is right now, it's phenomenal. Like, you hope there's a Big Ten tournament. You hope all this thing goes on, because this is going to be some really good basketball, and we saw it on Sunday, and you're going to see it throughout the rest of this season. The Big Ten might be the best it might be ever been in terms of what they have from top to bottom this year. It's incredible. Like, the amount of top 25 teams, the amount of top 10 teams they have,
and even they are going through. Like, everybody's going through it. Like the COVID. Every team is going through certain situations.
Yeah, absolutely. But even beyond that, all these teams are incredibly talented. And even a team like Michigan State, who we thought were down and out, goes out and beats the number 5 Illinois team. And now it looks like they're getting on a little bit of a run here. Maybe they can sneak in. And if they sneak in, you got Tom Izzo coaching that team, Mr. March. I mean, all of a sudden Michigan State becomes a team who was down and out last week. All of a sudden, our team are like, you got to pay attention to now.
And that's tough. That's toughness of it, man. And that's kind of what the war drill is all about, man. It's like being mentally tough and just being strong. And we're seeing that in the Big Ten. That's a Big Ten philosophy, is being just tough. Why has that not ever translated into a win, like a championship in the tournament in the last 20 years, though?
Because only one team wins. And there is a lot of good teams in the Big Ten. So, yes, someone's heart is going to be broken, and a lot of people's heart's going to be broken because there is only one winner. So, with all these good teams in the Big Ten, yeah, it's going to be exciting for the Big Ten, and hopefully some of these teams go far or all the way. But Michigan and Michigan State, that's 2 teams already. Only one could win if they do. So expect your heart to be broken.
And not the best team wins every year.
Yeah.
Because it's one and done.
Yeah.
And you got to win 6 in a row.
You got to get hot.
I mean, it's tough.
At the right time.
And you're facing a lot of good teams. I mean, if you're a 1, 2, 3 seed, yeah, you might have the first game might be a little easier, and we've even seen that with the amount of parity in college basketball. Even a one seed
we
loss.
Saw 16 beat a 1.
So even the 1 seed's not an easy game anymore. So it is really difficult. It is probably the toughest in all sports in terms of a championship to win because of the way it's structured. And to be honest, it's probably the worst structure to determine a champion. It's the most exciting, but it's, in terms of determining a champion, it's the worst.
Think about it. If you're not a Power 5, pro sports, hockey for sure.
But even hockey, you still play 7-game series.
Listen, though, to be one of those 16, 15, 14, 13 seed, even, you got to play in a league, and you could be 0 whatever. You could be 0-30, right? But in one of these smaller leagues, you could just get hot. And it doesn't matter what you did in your league. If you win your conference tournament, you're in the tournament. If you're in one of these, the MCA, blah, blah, something, throw all your letters in there, what you wanna. There's a few of them that can just be terrible and get on a run, and all of a sudden you're the 16 seed in the NCAA tournament because you won your conference tournament because you had a hot 3 days. That's insane to me, man. It's always bothered me about this tournament.
I don't know if it's exciting though. I mean, it's exciting, but that's what makes it like the regular season not matter. That's why I say I don't start watching until after the Super Bowl, because why watch before then? Because the games don't really matter that much in the regular season. I mean, it matters for seeding, but we've seen that seeding doesn't matter that much either. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Like, you just got to get on a run and get hot. You got to be hot at the right time, and you're going to need. There's going to be a game or two within the term. You look at any champion. I mean, there's very few champions that just ran through and dominated the entire way. Like, at some point, they're going to need some lucky play, or some play to just a ball bounced the right way for them in that game that they were able to survive and advance. But there's every champion has one of those games.
You saw that with the Super Bowl champion this year.
Yeah,
you definitely saw the same thing.
Dude, this year you saw David Tyree's catch against his head, man. That Giants team was like a 6 seed, barely got in the playoffs, and beat. Like, won games on the road.
I mean, getting hot at the right time. You saw that with Tampa Bay. Yeah. You saw that with
man, dude, you go right into the tournament and talk about your runs, man.
Yeah. That's with all sports. You got to get hot at the right time.
It
so
is.
You just got to make it now. With most sports, maybe.
And it's just not the most.
But even football, you brought up the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. That's another. The NFL. It's a one and done.
Yeah,
it's a one and done. Like you look at baseball, you look at basketball, you look at hockey. Right? They're 7-game series to decide. Like, more often than not, you're gonna find out who the better team is. Yeah, there's some lucky plays here and there, but still, you're playing a 7-game. You got to win 4 out of 7.
Yeah.
Like, you're playing each other that many times.
The better team
you're gonna see.
Usually,
you really don't have much of an argument
Yeah.
if you don't win a 7-game series. Like, it's there for you to win it, right? You're usually gonna find out who the better team is in that stretch. But when it's one and done, man, you have one bad night. One guy, turns an ankle that night, or you just miss a shot the wrong way, or you just don't, or your
someone
team
hits
just
a 3 at the end.
Yeah, it's like, the ball just doesn't bounce your way that night.
So is that the beauty of the?
That's the beauty.
It is the beauty of it, but is it fair?
Yeah.
Is it fair?
You play the game.
It's the most exciting way to determine a champion, but it's the worst way to determine a championship because it diminishes the regular season. It's the most fun for a fan, but if you're a team and you've worked so hard, and you take Michigan, for example, right? They're probably going to win the Big Ten regular season, right? What if they go into the tournament and they lose in the Sweet 16? Well, it was a crappy season.
Yeah.
Like, what?
Yeah.
That sucks. That sucks because they had one bad night. They had one bad night, but for months they were one of the best teams in the country.
Bad night? The other team just had a better night. That happens too.
Oh yeah.
Sometimes you just lose to a team that was just better on that day.
Yeah. The shooter couldn't miss. They got some kid who just could not miss that.
Yeah.
That's what I like about sports. I like that anybody can beat anybody at any time, and you do get those Cinderella stories that everybody likes, and they back.
Yeah.
Everybody backs those Cinderella stories because they want to see them.
But you like the Cinderella stories up until about
they beat your team, right? Until they beat your team.
Yeah, well, there you go.
That's
so. God bless Sister Jean. All right, we all do. Do we remember who Sister? Everybody out there listening, you remember Sister Jean? Michigan beat Sister Jean. Michigan.
How do you feel saying that? You feel better?
Beat the team on the court. They beat Sister Jean.
Yeah, you can't name any player on the team. You can name Sister Jean.
In the Final Four. Sorry, Sister Jean, but I'm glad my team won. Yeah. God bless you. I love you, but I love the win. And it is that, man. So when your team even beats the story, like what is that? And we're going into that now. Because this Michigan team, wasn't even predicted to be in the top 25. They got these senior transfers. They're getting good recruits. It wasn't in Juwan Howard, he's going to be a good coach, but is he going to, does he really know what he's doing? And then
he'd never been a head coach before.
Everything hits, all COVID, all the restrictions, everything that's going on, and you look at this team, and I'm telling you, man, I love sports, but I'm the same way, man. I'm dealing with COVID-19 in my own personal ways. Dan, you're dealing with them in your own personal ways. Joe, you're dealing with everybody's dealing with COVID. Everybody is dealing with COVID-19. And everybody is dealing with COVID-19 in their own personal situations as well. This Michigan team is doing something special, though. And I'm telling you, we saw it on Sunday. I am 100% behind this team. And, guys, it's the best thing going in Detroit / Michigan sports.
Yeah, I would argue.
So it's time to get behind it.
The real talk, though, with this Michigan team, from top to bottom, it's one of the best teams I've seen since the Fab Five. I've always been a huge fan of post players, and just watching Hunter Dickinson as a 7-1 post player, he's just so dominant, and he just brings something to Michigan you just don't see around the country. You don't see dominant, athletic 7-1 players like that. It just brings something to the table for Michigan that not everybody has, and Michigan kind of has, you look at their team, they have a little bit of everything, and it gives them a chance, and it puts them in the position where they're at to make a run, and they are legitimately a national championship contender.
Absolutely. And we watched this game. When you had the number 3 team in the country versus the number 4 team in the country, it doesn't matter the names of those teams. When you got number 3 versus number 4, and they're on that I go back and forth. I keep saying this. I love college basketball so much. I have for years and years and years. And there's a very special time slot, and it's that CBS 1 o'clock Sunday game. And when it's Michigan-Ohio State, it's awesome. And when it's the number 3 and number 4 team in the country on CBS at 1 o'clock, and at this time, this year with the COVID, and say what you want, no fans, it's still college basketball. It was a game. It was a game where if you're a sports fan and if you're a college basketball fan, you want to see that game. You tuned in. I would love to see what the ratings were. I bet they were super high. And if you tuned in to that game, you watched a hell of a basketball game. You watched 2 really good college basketball teams battle back and forth. And Dan, you saw a freshman play an incredible game, but you also saw a senior play a hell of a basketball game, and his name was Mike Smith. And this kid is a transfer from Columbia. Did you know who Mike Smith was last year, 2 years ago, 3 years ago? You never saw him play in your life. And this kid took over this game. As much as the freshman did, so did so many other people. And I don't want to start naming names like the Ohio State kids, because I'm not an Ohio State fan, but there are a few of them that played a good basketball game too, because that was a great college basketball game. And we saw these kids doing their thing. And I guess I want to wrap this show up with asking both you guys, how excited are you for this down the stretch, man? Because even the average sports fan knows what March Madness is. How excited are you guys for this?
I am for sure, because like you said, they do have every piece you need for a basketball team, and they play good together. I mean, only losing 1 game so far. I mean, I know they were out for a couple weeks with COVID, and don't have as many games as a lot of other teams, but still, to only lose 1 game at this point is impressive. So I'm excited, and like you said, they have every piece, and they definitely have a chance to win it all.
Yeah, it's exciting to see this team, because you look, they were out almost 3 weeks with the COVID shutdown, and then they come back and get wins over Wisconsin on the road. They beat Rutgers, and then they beat Ohio State on the road. So if there was anything with that shutdown, you thought maybe they'd be rusty, maybe it would take a few weeks for them to get back on track again. None of that. Like they're right back to where they were, and they have everything you need. Like Joe said, you have everything you need in this team to win a national championship. There's going to be some games we talked about. There's going to be some games where they're going to need a few bounces to go their way, but there's no reason why this team cannot win a national championship here, and that's exciting as hell.
Is there any COVID asterisk now? Like they had to sit for, like I said, 2 weeks, almost 3 weeks. They had a big game against Illinois was canceled. I don't think it's going to get rescheduled. I know a Michigan State game was rescheduled, so now Michigan is going to play Michigan State 2 games in a row. It's like a huge home series now at the end of the regular season. Is there any asterisk on what Michigan is doing right now as far as COVID, or does it make it even more special because they're overcoming even more adversity?
Well, I mean, if they lose a couple games down the stretch and it becomes a situation where it's determined by just straight up win percentage, then and it's super close, and you're like, well, maybe you put an asterisk next to it because they didn't have to play as many games. But the way it's going right now, it looks like they're going to run away with it. And if they do that and they win, the majority of the rest of these games, They put a stamp on it. Like, there's nothing you can say, regardless of that they didn't play as many games as the other teams. If they're 3 or 4 games ahead of everybody else, it doesn't matter. Like, they're clear cut, the Big Ten champions.
Is Juwan Howard the coach of the year in America?
If you're doing the voting right now, absolutely. I don't think there's any question about it. If you look at the team they had and you look at what they had going in, they weren't even ranked in the top 25. Now they're ranked 3rd in the country. A lot of people think they're going to win the national championship. So, Absolutely. I think he's hands down the National Coach of the Year.
What does that say about Juwan Howard? Like, because you don't get somebody asked me a question the other day, and I really had to think about it. It was like, do great players from college teams come back and coach their teams? And I had to think about it, and I can't name anyone.
Are we talking strictly basketball?
Yeah. A guy like Juwan Howard was a legend at Michigan, and he comes back to coach Michigan. Is that completely unprecedented? Can you think of a college basketball player? And I know, I do this thing where to my podcast hosts, I do this where I just throw out questions. We'll talk about what we're going to talk about, and then all of a sudden I'll just throw out a question that I just think about in my head. And I'm telling you, no stats, no computers, no nothing. Just off the top of your head. Has anybody ever come back and been a great college basketball player, came back to the alma mater and coached them to greatness? I can't immediately think of one. There's nobody I can think of that played at their school and then came back and led their school to greatness.
In college basketball, I can't. I mean, nobody pops up into mind. I mean, the immediate name that pops into mind is Jim Harbaugh coming back to Michigan to coach football.
Yeah,
but
he's not great.
Well,
even he's not great.
2016 had a chance to be great, but that's still another thing. But there isn't anybody that pops into mind for college basketball that went back to their alma mater and did great things.
It's got to be unprecedented. And to think that Juwan Howard, he didn't just do it like somewhere else and he was Fab Five, black socks, long shorts. Jalen Rose, Chris Webber, Jimmy King, Juwan Howard, like the Fab Five. And now he's coming back 25 years later and leading this team to greatness.
Well, I mean, it's a good regular season so far. But they still got to do more.
It's only been 2 years.
I brought up
Jim
Harbaugh. Like, we were saying the same things going into the 2016 Ohio State game. Like, did great things. They did great things, but they never actually won anything. And now you look at Jim Harbaugh, it's a totally different narrative around him.
Yeah.
So they still got to win things. Like, it looks like they're going to win the regular season title, but they need to make a run in the tournament to really put a stamp, say this was a great season. And but even more than that, you got a number one recruiting class coming in next year too. So he's making they're having success on the court right now this season, and now you got this recruiting. Obviously he's making waves recruiting. So there's no question it was a fantastic hire, and it's all coming to fruition right now.
Yeah.
But we still you got to win things.
Early,
you got to win things, and it looks like he's going to, but I just don't want to put the cart before the horse there.
You're right about that, because there was a moment, and it was the day before the 2016 Michigan-Ohio State game, when Jim Harbaugh could have run for governor in Michigan and probably would have won. And if they would have won that football game, if they would have got that yard, whatever, Jim Harbaugh would be a god in Michigan. Juwan Howard has that kind of shot right now. Obviously, college basketball will not ever be as big as college football in America or the state of Michigan. But Juwan Howard and his Michigan team has a chance to not only do something special this year, has a chance to do something really special for the next few years. A chance to build a legacy. And it's going to be fun to see, man. And it's fun to see it right now. And for me, I have been a believer for a while, but I really became a believer on Sunday because I was really, really excited to watch this game. And they did it, man. They did it, dude. Michigan came out, they went into Columbus, and they beat Ohio State on national television in a really, really great college basketball game. And the future is going to be awesome. And I'm talking the very immediate future. Let's go blue. Let's go Michigan basketball. It's the one thing we got going in Detroit sports right now. So I'm happy for it, man. I'm here for it. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Detroit Sports Sit Down. Peace.